I got a really strange comment on my video, Atheists Eat Archaeology and Esther is Shite. Said, I wouldn't, this is TKnightcrawler, or TKnightcrawler. However he means night. He said, I wouldn't say stuff like Babylon wasn't real or Sodom wasn't real. I would say Sodom might not have been real, but I seriously doubt it was destroyed by God. Maybe it was destroyed in a way that one might think God destroyed it, but because imagine if Jews and Christians were talking to people of their time and telling them religious stories and possibly hoping to convert or seeking their favor. If their stories were obvious lies, that wasn't going to happen. Okay. These Christians and Jews didn't exist at that time. You had a group of people, a tribe, 12 tribes, who had a lineage of stories. You should probably watch my video on a documentary hypothesis about the different authors of the Torah. The Bible, the historical parts of the Bible, are pretty much, I don't want to use the word true, they're fact. They happened. As an ancient history, it's extremely accurate. The archaeology adds up. King David, the reign of kings after him are pretty much substantiated with the archaeological record. Even things like when scholars said, well, when Jesus tells a parable about building a watchtower for a field, why would you do that? There's no, that's obviously a medieval thing. And then, lo and behold, in 1997, they dig up a watchtower because people built watchtowers when they set up vineyards or grain fields. This person injected God into it. Now, there is no proof. Well, there's evidence for God. To prove God, God can be proven to the person, I guess, not to the general masses. Maybe not, maybe so. I never mentioned that. The Bible as archaeology is true. The Christians didn't make up a story, and this totally shows I don't know. I don't want to make this too personal. I don't want to judge you too much, but the way the question's phrased is as if the Jews were looking to convert anybody. No, they were telling the story of their history. They were writing it down. The Jews were not a very proselytizing people until the Maccabees. They were writing down their story, and we can see that it's barely changed when we look at the scroll said Qumran. And we see that almost nothing has changed. And when I say that, I mean, yeah, there might be a word here or there that's different, or passage omitted, but it's the same story. Same outcome, same characters, everything. The Christians, when the last of those taught by the apostles were dying off, or when the apostles were dying off, they were recording down what had happened. And then you have the Pauline letters. But let's just deal with the Old Testament, or the Tanakh. You interject God in all of this. The Bible is a religious text, as almost every single ancient document is, because all the ancient documents talk about the gods and miracles and things like that. Say that the Bible is a fabrication or a lie to convert people. The Jews go try to become an Orthodox Jew. They'll tell you to get out of there. They'll tell you can't convert. They'll try to discourage conversion. My video was clearly made when atheists claim that archaeology disproves the Bible. They either don't know the Bible, don't know the archaeology, or both. Sodom and Gomorrah, we find Babadra and Numera destroyed by fire. Now, did God do that? Did God create the universe? Well, we have a universe here. Are you going to argue from that? Well, then there's no universe. I mean, this is it's a very strange type of comeback. That doesn't mean God did it. All right, my channel is not for proselytizing. I am against proselytizing. My religion is against proselytizing. We dig up a stone from the Moabites, saying, "We have killed one from the house of David." The Hittites. Bible is untrue because the Hittites never existed. This was one of the main arguments of the atheists. Hittites, fictional people. What happens around the turn of the last century? We dig up their capital. The story of Daniel, oh, it's fiction, it's worked over, can't be trusted, this and that. Well, go into the Oriental Institute in Chicago and you can see the gates just as described in the book of Daniel. The Bible is accurate. Now, where you put your faith is a different matter. I don't have faith in the Bible. I don't put my faith in the Bible. I don't believe it's the Word of God. No Orthodox person would. It did not come down to us like the Quran or the Book of Mormon. It didn't fall straight out of heaven. It's a text from history. Where you get, I don't know where you're. This is, to me, I'm sorry to be so harsh on you. It's typical atheism to read into things, to go to the next level and say, "Oh, well, that doesn't mean God did it." Okay, didn't say that. Didn't say it's proof that you should believe God. Even if God did all those things, if you're reading God of that Bible and you're using sola scriptura, that's an evil God that should not be worshipped. Again, if you pick up a Bible, which is Protestant, all the Bibles you're going to get are Protestant unless you get them from the Catholics, outside of the OSB, which isn't even fully translated yet, and you read it and you try to use your understanding of it without looking at tradition, without reading church fathers, without knowing history, you'll probably come away with an evil Calvinist God. You might, but that had nothing to do with my video. Should you believe in God? No. Do you believe in God? If you don't, then don't believe in God. If you believe in God, then believe in God. I would encourage you to check out my videos on documentary hypothesis or any of my videos on orthodoxy, because it's even hard to talk. I mean, the last video that I made before this, maybe it was right after it, about Protestants. It's so hard to talk to you because atheists are Protestants. It's just another faction of Protestantism. I mean, let me read this over again. I wouldn't say stuff like Babylon wasn't real or Sodom wasn't real. And at the end, hoping to convert them, seeking their favor. If the stories were obviously lies, then that wasn't going to happen. So you're claiming that the Bible was written in order to convert people. Are you seriously saying that the Bible was used as a conversion tool? Because the Bible as a conversion tool is only a few hundred years old. The compilation of the New Testament didn't take place until about 300 to 400 years after the death of Jesus of Nazareth. Again, this is a totally wrong not even incorrect, just wrong understanding of what the Bible is. This is what gets me so frustrated. They were writing these stories to convert people. No, this was in a day and age when everybody believed in miracles. Nobody really doubted gods. And the gods were of the tribes. They were ancestral gods. You read that in the Bible a lot. There's an idea of the ancestral God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's repeated over and over in the Bible. So they were making up these lies to convert people, but they were using some history. No, it was a record of what happened. And they lived in a time, in an age, where gods were real. So they're going to be in the texts. But they weren't fantasy texts. These were histories. Anytime we dig up something from the ancient world, most likely it corroborates the Bible. Now, you make that personal and take that into your faith. Well, if the Bible is historically accurate, I have to believe in God. No. But it's extremely accurate. It is a history book. It's a very ancient history book, but it's a book of history. At least from Joshua to 2 Kings. Now, the Torah is something different. It's mixed history, mythology, allegory, and then the New Testament is something completely different. The prophets are completely different. The prophets actually are writing, or are basically speeches written down, or prophets writing these things. But what I was referring to, the history from Joshua to 2 Kings, is history, and it's a pretty good history. It's pretty damn accurate. It's unlike the Book of Mormon, which is made out of whole cloth. I mean, this is just on the fly. I could go into it over and over and over again, to drench you with facts. But I'd just take the Hittites. That was the main argument of the atheists, the secularists, the skeptical people. I'm a secular. The skeptical people, of saying, oh, well, the Bible's just a medieval myth because the Hittites, there's no such people ever recorded as the Hittites. And find out, we dig up their capital about 150 years ago. What else? The Torah was written somewhere in the Middle Ages. Oh, we find the scrolls at Qumran. And we find every single book of the Bible except Esther, which is in the video I talk about in the video that you commented on. I'm not interested in whether you believe in God or not. But when you start saying, oh, the Bible is myth, or archaeology disproves the Bible, in just about every single case, either you have silence or you have proof. There's no real, or not proof, supporting evidence for the Bible. We don't find anything really contradicting the Bible. Now, there are some archaeologists that ascribe later dates to certain things. They say, oh, the gates weren't built by Solomon, they were built by Ahab. And their arguments are very weak. We see the path of destruction. Whether in the book of Joshua, it records an army invading, destroying all the native gods, which was never done by any pagan societies. They revered the gods of the land so that they would bless them. And burning certain cities to the ground and erecting others. We find that in the archaeological record. You make it personal. You make it about your belief or lack of belief in God. and then you spin it, you intentionally lie and say, well, these were Christians and Jews lying to try to convert people. Who are they trying to convert? The letters of Paul were written to churches. The When you became a Christian, the first 3 centuries, you didn't even read the text. You became a Christian, and then maybe later on you'd see the text or hear what they said. In fact, the church fathers continually speak about this of having to be a Christian before you even read these texts. But you're acting like they're propaganda or they're lies, or that nobody in the ancient world took gods for granted or believed in gods, that they had to be, like some street corner preacher today would be shouting and screaming. Again, totally inaccurate, totally wrong concept of history. This is what I'm talking about. I know this is coming off harsh on you, but it's just the way you phrase the question. You might be a nice guy, intelligent guy otherwise, but come on. I mean, really? You leave that type of comment? A little silly, isn't it?